to this episode of our show. Today we have the pleasure of having with us Francesca, who is the Global Digital Business Director at Bottega Veneta, a leading Italian luxury fashion house, well known for its craftsmanship and innovation. In his role, she oversees the brand's global digital strategy, including the e-commerce, the digital marketing, the omni-channel initiatives, and the e-retail partnerships to make sure that customer experience is there across all digital touch points. Prior to joining Bottega Veneta in September 2022, Francesca served as the president of online flagship stores and business partnership director at Yuxnet Aprote Group. And before that, she had a career in strategic consulting at Bain& Co, working with many clients in our industry. Francesca, it's fantastic to have you in our show. Thank you for your time. And maybe you can add a little bit of color to the biography I just read.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, actually. So I'm super happy to participate to this podcast as to what you're registering. So I think you basically said more or less everything I did, but let me add something. So I had the chance to start my career, as I said, in consultancy. That really gave me the opportunity to see the industry, the luxury industry, with the eye on everything was happening inside the companies. But then after 4 years, I really felt the need of going inside one of these companies, and I was lucky enough to enter the only Italian unicorn, maybe. So the company that was joined in 2013 were counting 500 people. And when I left in 2022, we were 6,000. So
Wow.
I don't think I'm going to have other 10 years like the ones I had. Then I had 2 kids in the meantime. So it were really years where I grew up as a person and as a profession. And really, I was given the opportunity to change job and role. With the company growing, I really changed job every 2 years, learning many of different aspects. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. When I changed job for Bottega, I've always said I will never work in fashion. I studied engineering. I love how the machine is working. I love the technology and operations in Yuxnet. I love the product, of course, but I've always said I would never work in fashion. And here I am.
Here you are. As it happens in life.
One of the best, actually, in my opinion, maybe the best brand that we have in Italy that is really representing the Italian craftsmanship. So I'm super proud of managing this unit, which is representing today a big chunk of what we sell. So everything that we sell online, as you rightly said, both on the website and through our digital partners.
Fantastic. And Francesco, go ahead.
That is amazing. And as you know, like here, the future of the value chain, it's all about how sustainability and how, global trends, from global to region, is evolving like year over year. In that 10 years that you spent at Yux, happening a lot of things. Maybe in this context, the most important one is about global supply chains to shrink more and more year after year. And then we had several like big events that created disruptions like all around the world. The most important ones such as coronavirus and some geopolitical like tensions like Ukraine, Russia, and also Israel now amid is what happening. So we see this trend happening about market remaining global, but probably like inbound, outbound flows, like trying to shrink the distance so to be more resilient. Is that a trend that you see in your sector?
100%. I think, as you said, globalization is not vanishing at all, in the sense that we need to be, and especially when we talk about e-commerce, as I said, I'm considered like a region inside our company, but I'm the only global region because my website needs to serve the world.
Correct.
Right? So it's managerially speaking is a region, but it's not. It's the world. So I think globalization cannot vanish. at all. But it's becoming more intentional, maybe in the sense that luxury will continue to source the best leather, for example, that we need for our bags. If I take the example of Bottega Veneta worldwide, but we try really to keep everything that is production in Italy. We control completely all the artisans that are working on the bags. More or less everything is made in Italy. Thing is really, we have really few exceptions, so we are controlling and centralizing and keeping here all the production. Then when it comes to the logistics setup, of course, we tried in the years, because I have to say that in the last 3 years we changed setup twice already, and trying to find, as you said, the right balance between how efficient probably
Yeah.
to be, how you want to keep the value chain efficient, and how you want to serve the customer right. And of course, you need
And
to be a
and this
little.
is, yeah, and you are like introducing like the next question, you like, which are, kind of the most impactful like drivers into this process. Can you please list down the most important like three or four?
Unfortunately, I have to say I would like to start with something else, but for luxury, what I do, no, because I think there is something more important. But for what I do, so business wise, for us, what is most important and everything that is really driving what we do and how we change things is the customer in the end. The
Yeah.
customer is changing, as we were saying before. So the customer is changing. We've always tried to be next to our customers. I'm bringing you what happened in Yux Net-a-Porter. Yux Net-a-Porter comes from the merger, of course, of two companies, an Italian one and the British one. The British one, so Net-a-Porter, selling products much more high level. They opened like 6 warehouses in the world to be really the client do the premier service, same day delivery, and everything that luxury is expecting. The Italian one was everything centralized with the max efficiency. We tried to do a mix, which actually worked,
Yeah.
and it's the same setup that they have today. And that, for example, we have today as in Caring Group as e-commerce, so with a central hub, and of course a lot of planning, forecasting, and everything to make sure that we keep local just what is really needed for the market and for the customer to serve him with the best level of service that they need, but they want. Okay, because when they're buying something from us, they expect something similar. The customer is changing, so we're still talking about a customer that is it's aging because of our products are super expensive. The younger customer, I think, is luckily less is paying less attention to service level, but they want also transparency values. They want to make sure that we respect some
Mm.
values that they have. Okay, so
Yeah.
luckily the second key driver that I would have wanted to mention it for first, but I'm not in the position yet, is for sure, I think, the sustainability and responsibility that we need to have as a company.
Yeah.
We need for sure to improve on ethical practices and everything that is related to it. And I think we really can step up and do much better in this inside the luxury world. So from what I'm seeing, we really have a lot of room for improvement. Other key drivers can be, of course, you mentioned them before. So everything that is the complexity that we have around wars, tariffs, everything that is changing
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
world. I mean, when Trump mentioned the tariffs for like 2 months ago, I don't even remember, 2 or 3 months ago, we had like 1 week of full thinking about changing completely the way of.
No, yeah, we are recording these episodes like from kind of Liberation Day till now. Now we are in July, by the way. So we saw, episode by episode how this evolved like so far.
Now we are okay, so we feel more or less okay, but there were moments.
Seems to be.
So
Don't relax too much.
Seems to be.
customer sustainability and responsibility for sure. Then of course all this complexity of the work what we need. These are I think the drivers
Yeah,
that we need to pay attention, and of course keeping an eye on the bottom line. So we also need to be efficient in the end.
absolutely. And can I ask you, Francesca, to elaborate on the topic of sustainability a little bit? Because as you know, under the umbrella of ESG, there is a lot, right? I mean, from working conditions in factories to, I guess, the carbon footprint of organizations, passing from transparency as a topic to governance as another topic. So what ESG topics do you see, I guess, becoming more relevant in modern, supply chain management and in the type of strategies that organizations like Bottega Veneta are developing?
So as I mentioned already before, the sourcing part, which is essential, of course. So we are, especially in Bottega, is very super nice because we have the same suppliers more or less years and years. Then when we add new products, we try to find, but we always try to keep a limited number as much as possible of suppliers and the ones where we have a long time relationship, which I think is guaranteeing, apart from quality, is guaranteeing also the fact that everything is controlled and we're well aware of how the supply chain is working. I was mentioning before, and for me, super important and super relevant, the packaging. Everything that is related to the packaging today, to me, is a disaster. I live in the house with 4 people, we're people, and every day I really
Deliveries.
4 or 5 boxes of trash or recycling, but still
Yeah.
a lot of packaging. In the luxury world, for what I do and for e-commerce, we did a project last year to we reduced by 40% the weight
Wow.
of the packaging that we were using before. So I'm super proud of that, I have to say. On top of this, for the Christmas packaging, because people are expecting, of course, in the luxury that they buy gifts, so they expect also something to give the gifts. We reduced that as well. We just gave a sort of instead of a big gift box, just a bag, paper bag, super nice, but paper bag, so less expensive, also less impact for the environment. Packaging, I think there is a lot we can do on the in the luxury segment for sure.
Mhm.
Because then everything is going to the trash. I mean, it's not something that you can reuse. Okay, so it's
Mm.
something that we need to pay attention. Carbon footprint, we're part of a big group, so of course this is something they're constantly monitoring, of course, because they need to, luckily. What we did, as an example, is that in the last couple of years, we really analyzed super carefully every time we're using this premier service for the customers. So the van literally going to the houses of the single customers, and we actually stopped doing it, for example, in Tokyo, for example, in Seoul, because
Mhm.
was more costly and more impactful for the environment than actually needed. And then the product life cycle. I think for we are approaching the vintage project, something confidential, but something that we need to at some point we need to tackle. So as a group. We are starting to see how to do, and Bottega would be probably the first brand doing it. There is, apart from an environmental aspect, also social one, as we were saying, we're really paying a lot of attention on all the artisans that are working on our products. We are all really, it's basically everything based in Veneto, yet in Montebello for everything that is bags, which is 75 of what we said, and part
Yeah.
of what is shoes. And we actually also opened a couple of schools there to make sure that we find the right people and we teach them how to do the bags. So really, from an ethical standpoint, we should be in the right place, but it's super important, of course. And then there is all the topic of customer data, for example, is something that we need to pay a lot of attention to. We have super high profile
Mhm.
customers as well. They don't want to be, so we need to protect all the data, be super transparent. I mean, there are so many aspects. If you think about ESG, then I don't know if you have any other specific ones that you want me to touch, but
No, I guess that it is, quite a comprehensive, I guess, perspective that you gave us. Very interesting, I guess, to hear that, sustainability is not only affecting the way you come, you produce the product or, procure the product, but it's also pushing you to consider new business models and kind of more circular business models. An interesting evolution from a value chain perspective.
No, and also, super interesting also from an operational, point of view, this global attention, but then really local, focus on the delivery for product because of the customer. So which are in the sector, from an operational like standpoint, the 3 or 4 main aspect, to run the business?
So I think, as we said, local fulfillment is something
Yeah,
that we looked into, but we're not willing to pursue. What we're doing in terms of local fulfillment is really being local with the product where needed and really specifically for what is needed. You need to imagine that all the analysis and the forecasting we're doing, for example, is to make sure that we reach at least 85% of sell-through target for everything we ship locally, which is a lot. To avoid, of course, products to come back, because, for example, as a brand, we don't sell anything discounted, so we just sell full price. So at the end of the season, everything needs to be back with another impact on the environment because we're
yes, yes, yes. And then you said before supply chain visibility, there is the traceability.
the transparency and the traceability of the supply chain is fundamental, as we were saying. For example, we're trying to keep everything super
Yeah,
controlled and we have super loyal suppliers, and this is what
sure,
we're doing. Imagine that for creating one of our bags, which is also the storytelling is becoming super important for me because
exactly,
once you pay a 7K for a bag, you need to make sure that all the aspects that are important for the customer are. So
of
apart from
course.
the quality of the product itself, you need to explain why the bag is so expensive. For some of these bags, a person is working with this amazing leather. If you go to see it, is impressive. For 1 week, like one person physically intrecciando the bag for 1 week. So all the people that are working, all our process is super controlled, and I think it should be given in this sector for how, but it's not
Totally agree.
because we read every day. Actually, many of the companies. I mean, we read it also last week that there was an article coming out on a very big fashion house.
We saw that.
So for me, should be given. Actually, it's probably we're not yet there 100%.
It's a matter of value. Like, let's talk about the stakeholders. I think before you mentioned something super important on the customers, and how, values like change across generations. You mentioned like from Far East, like values like change from old to new generation. And from a stakeholder point of view, that is a game changer for the business. Is that right? Are there any others? What situation over there?
Again, I think that my stakeholder actually is who is asking for help. Probably is the word in general. I always mention the client first because it's always the main stakeholder. We just need to look there. But if we're able to look at the right client and the right way the client is evolving, we're definitely able to help also the world and the environment that we are living in the sense that I think there must be at some point a shift in this luxury world where you already start seeing it. People are buying less, maybe even more expensive things, but less number. We already see this shift. So we are growing because our prices are increasing by 25-30%, but volumes are low.
So killing the volume, but growing in value.
Exactly. I think this is a
Okay.
trend for the people that really want and like, loves luxury and can afford it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there is a trend of luxury. This is what we've seen in China, for example, which is very clear for us. And unfortunately, starting to affect Korea as well. It's starting to affect Japan as well. Is a
Understood.
market where until some years ago we're selling tons of small leather goods and everything, and now is much slower because I think it's
Yeah.
there must be a point where
A saturation point that picked up and now focusing on other aspects.
and when we reach that point, we need to make sure that we are ready at that point. So to be
Mm.
Of course.
with the right values, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess in this kind of moment of complexity and evolution, with this podcast, Francesco and I are, trying to understand the type of strategic behavior that organizations are developing. And I'm wondering if you came across in your sector projects, experiences of value chain restructuring that you thought were, particularly interesting that maybe you want to share about?
Yeah, sure. I think it's something pretty. I mean, it's for us was pretty revolutionary, but it's something that is very common sense. It's just for a big group like this, exactly to avoid and maximize sell through every time. We have a lot of we don't call them carryover, we call them relax, which is like a product that is always there. And we used to buy and do like a seasonal buying also for all the products that were, let's say, carryover. And it was my CEO actually when he was before the chief operating officer of Saint Laurent, before coming to joining Bottega. And he started this project called Never Out of Stock. So meaning that you keep the production, of course, working and being never out of stock, but with the lowest, of course, possible stock that you have locally to make sure that you, and of course, a super efficient way of supplying then the local warehouses, but in a way of not remaining in the end of the season with more product than what you did locally. So this was a super. I have to change it. It changed the way we're working because we're actually working and forecasting just what is seasonal and not the 40-50% of the business that is running by itself. I mean, everything is super
Of course.
automatized, but I really I don't know if it give you the sense, but it really changed dramatically the way the company is working. Like 50% of this, like we can forget about that 50% that is working perfectly, and so we focused on what is more seasonal, what is more new. So we are also able to give the right flavor of the brand and everything, forgetting what needs to be considered as a basis. So this was called it's a relax model, never out of stock project or whatever, and it really changed the way our supply chain works. And for all the group, it was applied.
Very
No,
interesting.
and super interesting, and thanks for sharing.
Nothing, uh, but I've seen it with my
Yes.
eyes, so I can tell you.
Oh, sure. And under like, a managerial like umbrella, since you developed like a multi-year experience across like several brands and companies, is there any initiative or any experience you want to share with us you are particularly proud of?
I think what I mentioned before related to the. I mean, it's not rocket science, never. So, when
No
we talk
problem.
about operations, it's really we changed the logistics setup of our e-commerce, and this is basically the only thing that I can really do to have an impact on how we fulfill the products to our customer. We changed, as we said, the way of delivering them, so changing on
Yeah.
changing the service level depending on the countries, depending on. We also partnered with some local companies to make sure that we were, of course, having the lowest impact environmentally, so taking the partners that are paying more attention to some specific aspects instead of others, even if the group was imposing others. So I think we were also. I'm proud because we were brave enough to start doing something new, at least. Again, not rocket
Yeah.
science, but I think if you put together
Yeah.
these small
No,
through the value chain,
small
we can
things. Yeah.
difference. Packaging, as we said
Absolutely.
before, we changed the
Yeah,
packaging.
small things.
Many small things through the value chain.
Yeah.
Maybe not one in particular, but the difference if compared to 2 years ago when I joined, it's definitely visible.
Yeah.
So
And I I guess, when you look at these type of initiatives, for example, the one on packaging that you were mentioning is not only the kind of impact that you achieve as a, single business, but is also, the type of action that you may inspire on others, to follow.
Yeah.
There is a ripple effect that I guess is not to be underestimated.
It's exactly what happened because for example, we're part of the group, so of course we share a logistics center in Italy, one in US, one in Japan, and having our new packaging, all the other brands started doing, of course, they
Similar,
finished the old ones, but like 6 months
of
after,
course.
1 year after, they started with their new packaging with the. So,
Exactly.
And it's internal benchmarking on best
of
practices. So
course.
yeah,
Then we do
Yeah,
so
that's
be
good.
internal benchmarking, of course, as well. So we order a lot of
sure, of course.
to see if, I mean, if there is a best practice that is easily applicable, we always try to
Yeah.
do it.
Good.
Conscious of time, Francesca, we are reaching the end of this episode, but there is a moment in our podcast where we kind of give guests the crystal
Crystal
ball, and
ball.
we ask them to basically predict the future. And this is the question for you, as for the other guests.
Yeah.
What type of scenario you envisage? Let's say 3, 5 years from now. Believe we're gonna see the same drivers, in action in terms of value chain evolution. Do you see new drivers coming at play? What type of future you imagine?
I think in always starting from the customer, we will need to change slightly. I don't know if it's gonna be in 3 or 5 years, but for sure, some of the aspects we were mentioning before need to become more and more important, even if they are
Hmm.
already super on the. Uh, Everyone is talking about these topics. I think there is a lot of room for improvement, as we were saying. So they need to take more importance in everything we do, because the customer will ask us to do that. So even if,
Yeah,
and so the only
Yeah.
thing we can do is trying to be ready before, so that we don't
Yeah.
lose then time, business, and money on doing things last minute.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, I think this global world is then very local. I'm seeing, so I'm going to Korea, as I said, in 2 weeks. I've just been to China. It's super, super, super different how every region is reacting to this luxury world,
yeah,
in particular.
Developing differently. Yeah.
I think in terms of business, we will probably see a polarization. So the brands that
Yeah.
will be able to resist to this luxury shame, or let's call it out as we want, but this after this big boom of luxury, they're trying to, they're like stepping out. So I think we will see a polarization of the business. We need to be, as we said, much more transparent in everything we do. So, but also starting internally inside the organization. So we need to have more visibility. I luckily have visibility because I'm probably at the level where I see what is happening, but we need to be more
Yeah.
transparent also with the internal stakeholders. I think also the person that is working is changing. So I see it. I mean, I feel very young. I work since 15 years. So I see the difference between me when I started working and the people that are
That is
that
totally
start
true.
working.
That is
So
totally
it's
true. And I think, yeah.
so different. But this is
Yeah.
it's amazing to see. No? It's amazing to live, and it's amazing.
absolutely.
There is not a right or wrong.
Yeah.
This is just what we need to follow, and I'm super curious to see what our kids will do when they will be working. So I think there are external stakeholders, internal stakeholders. We need to be, as I said, see it's global but very local. So with global programs, you need to make sure that you say it correctly, and you need to expect different behaviors in different regions. It's not one fits all at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
More circular. So especially with these products, we need to make sure that they don't have just one life. We need to make sure
Yeah,
that, and we need to make sure also to control that, because now you see many weird things on, for example, Hermes bags. So you see auctions, you see vintage, you see vestiaire. It's not controlled at all, and it's something that can ruin also the value of the product afterwards, the value that the product has. And then I think that's it for us. It's always, I mean, I didn't mention AI because I didn't want to mention.
yeah,
I'm just closing with it. No, because also in this case, we always my CEO is repeating it every day. We want to be always human centric, in the sense that we have artisans.
yeah,
We need also to face what is happening outside. I'm sure this will have an impact. We are not there yet. So, as a group, I was many things to improve and to see where we could use it. So I'm not sharing now, but I think you can imagine which are the
absolutely.
topics we're talking about. So this will impact as well, but will need to be just and help and something that can help exactly going more and more in the direction of meeting the values that
That we discussed.
esatto.
Francesca, fantastic. It was really nice to have you in our show. Thank you very much for your precious time, and congratulations for all the good work you're doing at Bottega Veneta. And best of
Thank you a
luck with
lot,
everything.
Francesca.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this discussion, we invite you to like and share this episode on your social media. Enjoy the rest of your day.